What's coming up is one of the most important lines of the movie, certainly one of my favorites, and it's really where the heart and soul of this movie comes from. I just write internet policy, I don't understand it. Where that comes from is, for those of you who don't know, or maybe this reference is dated, there was one of the first internet piracy bills going through Congress called SOPA and PIPA, that was one of those things. It was a really sweeping copyright infringement bill that it did a lot of things, but essentially, if you were found in violation of copyright, your site would be delisted from the internet. If you were to type in SpoonyExperiment.com, you wouldn't get anything. So essentially, it would end you. If you knew the IP address, you could still access it, but you were done. And we went down there. Me, Rob, Doug, Linkara, a bunch of producers went down to Washington D.C. to talk to congressional staffers. There's no chance we were going to talk to actual congressmen or senators, but we talked to staffers, which is all the best you can do usually. We walked out of there really disillusioned. Although ironically enough, I was the only guy probably walking out of there at all optimistic. I was like, they were nice, and they're like, we're fucked. The staffers agreed that SOPA needed work, and so it was unlikely it would pass. No. The thing is, though, there was a real sense of pessimism. I'll get back to this. I love this scene. This, of course, is a reference to Ghostbusters, and if you haven't seen it, how fucking dare you go watch it at once. Shut this off. Shut this all off. My only complaint about the scene is I think they throw in the word shut it off one too many times, but otherwise I think everyone does great in this. And the big surprise for me was the scene where my head explodes and all the ghosts fly out whatever it is, flies out like Ghostbusters. The plot holes fly out. And they do a really good job. It was probably Skitch who did this, where they do a cover, essentially, of the same song. A very interesting and weird song that was in Ghostbusters. I think it was, I believe it's Science in this movie. Very cool. Oh, I guess if I had another complaint, I wish they'd done more things with the craziness from the plot holes. I think it's kind of unclear, especially in one shot. Something appears in this guy's hand, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know. But it was such a cool montage, I don't really care. Oh, shit. I almost... Anyway, there was kind of a feeling of dread coming out of the trip to D.C., or at least, I know a better word, a sense of inevitability. That, by the way, is Orlando, who played Malachite in the last movies. He was the supervillain, and now he's playing the dweeby character. The sense of inevitability where we were walking away from DC and the SOPA bill, where we thought it was kind of this agreement where, like, even if SOPA gets defeated in Congress, the staffers were saying, well, we're SOPA, we agree, needs work, which is why we're working on the next bill. We're gonna fix what's in SOPA and rewrite it, and then we'll have a really kick-ass copyright bill. So we walked out of there going, it doesn't matter, does it? Even if we win here, there's kind of a rising tide against us, where eventually they're gonna clamp down on the internet, whether we like it or not. And when that happens, we're fucked. Because we do reviews, we do comedy, but at some point it's not gonna matter. If people interpret us as violating copyright, arguments of fair use aren't going to matter at all. We're going to get shut down. We're going to get delisted because there's really no way to compete, with either government or major media. And even if we do, then we're going to be competing that way for the rest of our lives. And so we walked out of there realizing the handwriting was on the wall. We no longer have security here. In fact, tomorrow I could be shut down if somebody got a bug up their butt and wanted to do so. They could file litigation against me, and right or wrong, I could argue fair use until I'm blue in the face. But I could just easily get shut down. It's kind of one of those things where it doesn't matter if you're right in the argument, it's how long you can argue. and there's no way I could stay in court for long enough to beat fucking Sony. So we walked out of there. I keep repeating myself. It was just kind of like, wow, this isn't gonna last, is it? One day something's gonna pass and it's over. You know. And I think it was a big wake-up call to Doug and Rob, where, he ended the Nostalgia Critic for a lot of reasons. But a big one is probably that he decided, not only was he going to kind of go out on top with the character, he was going to do it before before it started getting lame. And he's like, it's going to end for me one day, and I want to do stuff that can stand on its own, that's original. It's not to say the stuff he was doing before wasn't original, but you know what I mean, not based on something else. And it was this. I think all of us who went to DC it opened our eyes, and probably not in the way we were hoping for, but we're like, yeah. We gotta have a fallback plan. We gotta do something, because we can't win this fight. It's one of those. It's very definition of a Pyrrhic victory, and that's even if you win, you lose, or you'll eventually lose. So you can win the battle, but not the war, so to speak. So there you go. And I'm making it all sound very depressing, and you can take it the way you want to, but you can take it another optimistic way, and in fact, that's the way I've chosen to see it, where. Let's say the bottom drops out of this. If it ends tomorrow, yeah, I'm in deep shit. But, a lot of people are in deep shit. This is our jobs for a lot of us. But we've all had things we've always wanted to do. Doug has wanted to do a different show for years. He's finally free to do that now that he's retired the Nostalgia Critic. I don't want to speak for James Rolfe, but I know he doesn't want to do the video game nerd forever. He's got movies he wants to make. He's got other shows he wants to do. And he's not tied to that now. I mean, he still does nerd, but I know for a fact he's working on other stuff. So for us, I think it was kind of a wake-up call that we should all kind of aspire to take what we've learned. For all we bitch about movies and games, we can use that, and we can make new stuff and better stuff, and we have done better stuff. We've to boldly flee. We've made our own product, and yeah, it's based on a lot of things. We parody almost every sci-fi movie ever made, but we came together and made a really slick, professional looking product. The special effects here are awesome. I think the script here is really awesome, and I think the comedy here is probably the most inspired it's ever been. So one day we've got to move on, and I think Snob has kind of another one of the most defining lines of the movie is we can't keep chasing the zeitgeist forever. Like when the bottom drops out, what are we going to do? Well, I mean, pretty much all you can do is enjoy the ride as long as you can. I mean, we got to realize, and sometimes we all need to be reminded, is this is a dream job. I get make a living off of bitching about movies and bitching about games. I mean, that's amazing when you think about it. It's hard work, but it's creative work. And, we should all be so lucky as to have work that, we create arts, or at least we create comedy. We help improve people's days. And no matter what form that takes, be it reviews or, game reviews or little sketches, that's not going to end. We've got a good thing here. And I think part of the thing, we should all take away from this is the work is almost secondary to the relationships we build. The partnerships that, we've made, and the fact that just because the chosen medium might be ending, it doesn't make us any less talented. We don't have to sell out. We don't have to go back to 9-to-5 office jobs, even if, I'm going in circles here, but it doesn't have to end, just because one door closes, another one opens. And I think we've proven that. I think if you watch all the anniversary videos from the Epic Brawl up to this, you can really see how every single one of us have evolved as critics and as actors and as filmmakers. In fact, Doug in particular has grown by leaps and bounds in terms of being a scriptwriter and a filmmaker, because even though even though Suburban Nights was a mess, we still finished it, and that was something that could have easily been given up on. But he decided to evolve. He learned how to basically use a director of photography. Use several cameras. He learned how to shoot coverage. It was a real challenge in editing, and us as actors managed to shoot a remarkable amount of footage and do it relatively well under a real time crisis. And again, Suburban Nights, I don't think anybody is denying it, is kind of a mess in terms of where the comedy is and in terms of pacing, and mainly that's because of the difficulties in shooting. Look at this ugly guy. Who the fuck is this? I'm probably wrong, but I think this is the first thing the entire cast shot together, or at least where we were all in the same place. And maybe unwise because Insano tends to shred my voice, but I actually don't do a whole lot of talking, as me anyway. I think the next thing I did was Turl, which was actually the next day. This set is Doug's basement, and it's really nothing more than a bunch of cables and computer parts and monitors, and almost anything else we could find from like Spencer's. One of the things that I thought was kind of weird was he used the take. I would ad-lib things almost at the end of every line, not so that it interfered with the normal line, but I would ad-lib something at the end usually. And one of the things when I turn around, I go, "Son of a bitch!" They even took the novelty slot machine. Who does that? And in almost none of the shots can you actually see a novelty slot machine. It's near the bubbling fog thing, just down and to the right of it. But yeah, you never see it. Also, this is one of the in terms of lines they cut, they made one of the worst mistakes here, and not just because it's my line and everything with me and it should be kept, but this was a really good line, at least in my estimation. When Insano is describing what the plot hole does, again, I would ad-lib something usually at the very end. And Doug didn't mind. He was like, actually, we get some good stuff. And actually, he used most of my ad-libs. And I go, it turns everything on its ear. Backwards is forwards, black is white, up is down. The ending to Mass Effect 3 won't make any goddamn sense. And actually, everyone got a good laugh out of that one. One thing that was interesting about this movie, and you might think, but the script didn't change all that much once we got it. The script for Suburban Nights was changing like crazy because we had no time. We were slashing things out like crazy to get it shot, which is actually what happened to Bennett. But we were cutting things out. Oh, hang on. They actually told me to play this as straight as possible. Like, we actually want Insano to be really grave. And I was like, how? I didn't know how. I was like, Insano is never really all that grave. He's like, just, you gotta seem like it's really deep shit we're in. And I go, okay. So it was one of those times where like he had to give me a line reading, but I'm not the kind of guy who cares. Like, I want you to be happy with the way it's shot. Like, so if you got to give me a line read, give it to me. And so that was fine. Sad Panda is really one of the, I think, stunners of this movie, where he is just awesome in his role, where he is the ultimate deadpan, just the most brutal deadpan I've ever seen, where he can just no sell any kind of emotion. And that's not to say he's a bad actor. He's brilliant in the sense that nothing phases his character, just nothing. He's at all times he just kind of has an unimpressed aura of mild annoyance and sadness. Where he's just like, eh. If there was ever a Grey Lantern hero, he would be it. This set was really impressive. It may not look like much, but this was really very true to the original Star Trek, which was the intention. When it comes down to it, it was just a lot of kind of kludged together parts, a mini fridge, lights behind things that really do nothing, wall-mounted keyboards. But I was amazed with the quality of the set design, and not just here, all around. A lot of it was green screen, but done well. The sci-fi stuff, you can actually see the little lights and the buttons look really awesome. It looks sci-fi, Oh my god, Sad Panda's conveying an emotion. What the fuck? Oh my god. Now he's not impressed anymore. It's worth watching virtually every shot that Panda's in just to see what his reaction is, or lack thereof, but it's really awesome. I am filled with resentment and loathing. If we learned one thing from Suburban Nights, though, it was shoot indoors, good God, shoot indoors. That was the major problem for us because we got rained out of like 4 days of shooting Suburban Nights. Okay, probably 3. But it cost us so much time, and they even budgeted extra days to get it shot in case of rain, and we blew past them. But shooting indoors was a great idea because I think they were always intending for this to be a sci-fi movie, and by definition, sci-fi movies are usually shot indoors, aside from a very few shots. So yeah, it worked out well for us all around, and the cheesier we could make the sci-fi sets, the better, like garbage bags. The Emperor's throne room is actually very awesome, where it's in the attic, but we had a lot of green. I don't know if it was. I seem to remember it was green screen. No, it wasn't. It was foam that was cut out. But since the shots in the Emperor's throne room aren't moving, you can easily mask that stuff out. Although they may have hung a green screen up. Now I'm not sure. I'm curious. Cameo by the G Laser. Ed Glazer playing Agent Smith over there, looking pimp. He was the DP on this movie. Very, very talented. Had some great. It might have been the only line he had, but it was great. G Laser needs to do more acting, I tell you. But yeah, we were so much happier to shoot indoors. Also because we could control the lighting, which if you watch Suburban Nights, there is virtually no control over the lighting. 8-Bit Mickey here, his appearance rather confused me because he had chosen to go with this weird porn stash. I don't know what the motivation was behind it, and I'm the kind of guy who won't ask the obvious question, like, if like say you break your arm and you show up at work, every single fucking person in the world is like, "How'd you break your arm?" or "What happened?" So I'm never that guy. I'll just wait for somebody else to ask and overhear it. So I never would ask the mustache, and I never heard the story why. I guess maybe he just wanted to have it. I don't know. This whole bit comes from I heard this secondhand, so it may not be true. But as I recall, Mickey was actually kind of, I won't say offended, but he was really tired of the short jokes. We always kind of, I actually don't know if we wrote him having short jokes. Either we were making short jokes behind the scenes, or there were short jokes written in the movies. But he was sick of them. And so this whole, of course, we made more short jokes, but this whole bit is about how he hates the short jokes, and so he finally goes ape shit and kills the guy. I would have liked to have seen more Prick in. Oh my God, that sounded bad. More of the Mr. Prick in this movie, but he goes out as he should go out. The other major set. Oh my God, I want to see more Prick. Now, the other major set was Turl and Zod's house ship, and see if you can guess why we made it look like a house. Although the plant really did tie the room together. No, it made sense for the critic being under house arrest, but Turl and Zod were like, oh, we need to match the critic. I don't know. It made sense at the time. I actually am curious to hear how they animated the houses. I did some of the effects. Like not that one, but virtually every hologram effect, like when the Emperor or the Executor appears, I did the hologram effect. That was pretty much my main contribution, was the holograms, although those aren't easy to do. Although some of you guys who are in effects might easily recognize what the stuff I was using. I remember Doug and Rob were kind of shitting themselves trying to figure out how they were going to get this stuff done, the effects shots. They're like, we'll shoot the movie and figure out the effects later. And I think they kind of crowdsourced a lot of the space battle footage. Again, I'm not sure which ones they did. I'll talk about Turl a little later, because his outfit warrants questioning. I think this gag falls a little flat because what we're supposed to be seeing is his splattered carcass all over the floor. Either they needed to do something where they kind of splatter the screen in red, or we actually see his body. I don't know. I think it's not really clear what we're seeing because it goes by so fast. The neckbeard is what really sells this costume. Again, I'll get to that. But what we're coming up on is the hologram effect. I'm very proud of it. See? Very good. I shot this at home. Pretty much everything you see where I'm kneeling or I'm in my space fighter or anything that's really me green screened, where it's fairly clear I'm green screened, I shot that at home. There was a lot of stuff that was shot as pickups just because we had even considering we had more time, we had a really limited shooting schedule. I'm glad it came out as well as it did. This was actually shot at a time. My dog Oreo has eaten two characters. Oreo has eaten Chuckles the Clown, and just before I got in costume, she ate Turl. Or rather, she ate the neckbeard for Turl. She tore it in half. I left the bathroom door open, and she was curious about this thing, and so honestly, you can't tell because I just spirit gummed the halves together. But yeah, great entrance by Zod. This is one of the better lines that people quote all the time, or at least quote so far. Really good line. Oh God, he's foreign. I didn't know that line would go over as well as it did. Part 3 coming up.